everybody. We are at the Galen, the Palm Springs Art Museum in Palm Desert, made possible by the philanthropy of the very generous Helene Galen. And inside is part of her wonderful, wonderful art collection. So stay with us as we explore the arts at the Galen. We are inside the Galen, Palm Springs Art Museum in Palm Desert, with Helene Galen, who has made the museum possible and this extraordinary collection of her own very fine art. And you've been collecting art for how many years, Helene?
Well, my husband started before I met him, and we were married in '75. So he was collecting more impressionist and photography. And then he decided it was time to learn about modern art. Lou didn't do anything without learning about it. So he took a class and learned about contemporary art. And then we started buying. Of course, Lou was the number one. He went first. He had more courage than I did.
But you became, even before this art museum, you were very involved with art at USC.
Well, yes, we supported it.
Yeah.
I'm on the board of the counselors of the art school at USC.
Yeah.
So it's like I've always had a passion, but '75, after I met Lou, is when my real interest started, because before him, I would buy an orange painting to go with an orange couch.
That's amazing. I mean,
I know,
really
it's the
is, because
truth.
I think that's what drives art collectors crazy.
I know.
The people who do that, but now
But
you don't. So now, okay. And then I want to talk about the art museum because you're so active with it.
Right.
But how do you select a piece of art?
Well, first of all, it has to make me happy. I won't buy anything that doesn't make me smile. And there's several pieces in this collection here that I've heard people walk around and saying, "This is joyful. I enjoy this." And I've had tours at my house where people walk out and say, "This is a happy collection." That's what I want to buy. I want to buy smiley things.
I tell you, this is a happy collection right here at the Galen. Yeah. Let's go back to the Palm Springs Art Museum and how you first became involved and why it's become so important to you.
We're going back to 1985 when a girlfriend of mine asked me if I would work on an auction for the museum maps. And I did, and I've been involved with that museum since '85. And I love it.
You have done so much for it.
Yeah.
You really have.
Well, it's a mutual love affair. It's given me a lot back. I have some of my best friends started at the museum, and I took all the education that I got from working there to the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center, because I learned how to run a meeting. Everything that I learned about administration, I learned there. So it was a wonderful experience, and still is.
Yeah, okay, so how important do you think that art is to a community?
Wow, it's, I think the realization is happening, that people realize that art, music, is the soul and the beauty that we get to have. I mean, we're living in a very pressured world. Every time you put on the news, you feel the pressure, but the comfort of art and music is the gift, I think, that also it makes our culture so beautiful. I mean, I'm involved with a theater right now, and the young kids are going to the theater, and even if they don't become stars, they will learn wonderful things. They'll learn presence, they'll learn articulation. So it's all part of the arts, and I think it's wonderful, and that's why I'm so happy about this. And I know that the kids will be coming here too to see it.
Well, I think that there are tours and student classes, aren't they, at the Palm Springs Art Museum?
Absolutely, we have an education department here too, as well as in Palm Springs, and kids do come to that, so it's wonderful.
Yeah.
We have an amazing and vibrant arts and public place program, and now this is like the centerpiece in all that art that we have throughout the city, and now we have something strong that pulls it all together, and it's brought great education to our schools. It brings the whole community together, and art is one of those things that knows no boundaries, and it truly does bring the community together. We're just fortunate to have it. It's a tremendous asset.
This year, we really took an opportunity to implement some community programs that we really wanted to provide to the community. And one of them, which is sponsored generously by Helene Galen, is our free First Fridays at the Galen. And the first Friday of every month, November through May, guests can come enjoy the exhibition. And it's part of something that the city of Palm Desert also implemented this year called First Weekends of Palm Desert, and that is a spotlight on the art and culture in the city the first weekend of every month. Yoga is something that we were really excited to have this year. We invite guests to come bring their yoga mats and enjoy yoga in the sculpture garden. It's a 1-hour session. We have yoga instructors from Lululemon, their ambassador program, so it's a different yoga instructor every month. And it happens at the same time as the farmers market, which happens in our parking lot every Wednesday morning. And it's something that people can come and enjoy an outdoor activity in our beautiful sculpture garden. We're open year-round, and so in the summer we have our summer camp for children, and that happens every year, very successful. We had a great time with it last year. And then also from Labor Day to Memorial Day, we partner with the Living Desert and offer a membership reciprocal where our members can get into the Living Desert for free and their members can get here for free. So it gives people an opportunity to have a summer activity. Living Desert in the morning, art in the afternoon.
We talked about the arts and the art museum, but you are associated with so many other organizations that help the arts. Mm-hmm. The board of the McCallum Theater, right. The Rancho Mirage New High School has a theater named after you.
The film festival.
The film, I can't forget the Palm Springs International Film Festival. Right. So everything you do really is related.
Well, with the exception of Eisenhower that makes people well, and the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center that helps children. Most of my activities does revolve around the arts, though.
Yeah, and in choosing you said all of your paintings from Los Angeles and from Rancho Mirage are all here at the Galen.
My house is still full at Rancho Mirage.
It is?
Yeah, well, first of all, I bought a few new pieces.
After you...
We had a couple of empty walls, so I filled them.
Okay. What did you fill them with?
Well, some contemporary artists.
Yes. Well, this is all pretty contemporary. Yeah. And I'm going to have a big decision January 31st when this show is over. Yeah. They're going to bring it all back, and then I'm going to have to rehang and put things in different places if they fit. It's going to be a very exciting time. Okay, you gave $1 million to the Palm Springs Art Museum for the Galen. Right. So there would be a museum here in Palm Desert.
Well, it was a wonderful story how that happened.
I'd like to know.
We were sitting in a board meeting, and the Palm Desert had offered us this location for $1 a year. It used to be the Visitors Bureau, and all we had to do was fix it up and make it our own museum. And it was a difficult time. It was 2000, I think, and 7, when everything was falling apart. And I walked out, and I knew that it was going to take, they mentioned it would take about $1 million to get it off the ground. And I walked out of there and I thought, I really should do this. And I was worrying too about the economics. So I called up my 2 daughters who are on the board of the Family Foundation. And I said, I didn't ask them, I told them, I said, this is a decision I've made, I just want you to know before I go public. And I called back to the board meeting and I told them they've got $1 million to start it. It was so exciting. From that moment on, they raised $6 million.
So, they needed that first.
And we needed, having been involved with the museum for so many years, I knew that what they needed was a location in the East Valley, because a lot of people that live out in Indian Wells, they just don't get downtown. So if we have a location here, it's still Palm Desert, it's still Rancho Mirage, it's still all of the cities here are covered, and it's wonderful.
And it probably attracts them then to discover what's in Palm Springs.
Well, last night, for instance, we had a lot of people I've never seen before, and I know where they came from. They came from Vintage, they came from all the clubs, Bighorn, And it was great. It was very exciting.
And your very special friend, Jamie Kabler,
Yeah.
it was his concept,
It
this
was.
Meet the Museum. And I mean, there were like 500 people here.
I know. Well, he started it in the big museum,
Yeah.
and he used to get close to 1,000 people show up, and they became members. In order to come in, you have to be a member. So he got all this membership growth, which was really fabulous.
It's the idea that we could give a great party and people could get a one-year membership to the museum. And I'm glad to say that these two events that we do are responsible for about 50% of the museum membership, Gloria. So it's really a great success. Tonight we'll have 700 people here who've all joined the museum in support of our beloved museum. And they're here to see Helene's collection, which is the first time it's ever been shown together from all the houses. And we have a great party.
All right, now how did it come up that your collection you would give up for a while to be here in
I've
the
been
Galen?
I've been trying to remember whether it was Greg Polzine, who is a development man at the museum. Somebody said the word, because I'm in meetings all the time with them, and I just thought it was very exciting. The concept, people like to see other people's collections. I've had some tours of my house. This way I can expose all of it, and I think it's a fun collection to see.
Oh, it is. It's just
yeah.
marvelous. Now, another thing, in the back here of the Galen, there is a little room, and these are all pieces of art that are going to be given. These are on loan where we're sitting, but they're going to be given to the Palm Springs Art Museum. So what made you decide to do that, and how did you select the pieces?
Well, first of all, I didn't get to select them. The museum did. They came over to my house, and of course I knew number one would be the Wesselman. Wesselman is a large piece over there with the cigarette smoke coming up, and he's very, very famous. It's probably the most collectible item in the collection. Wesselman's a very important artist, and I knew that they would want that. And they also wanted the Paul Strand, which is a portrait of Rebecca, which is probably one of the most important photographs. I know that they've been at auction a few times in the past, but this is a beautiful piece. And the Ansel Adams, and what else did they take? There's something else over there. The woman, Krasny, Lee Krasny. She is a fabulous artist, and they took that piece. So I'm glad they didn't stay too long at the house, because they would have taken everything.
Helene is one of our most generous trustees, and so several works from this exhibition are being gifted to the museum. And the general quality level is so high throughout this show. I think even Helene has learned a lot about it. You take it out of the house and you put it in a museum setting, white walls all around, you have a whole different perspective on the collection. So I think she's very pleased. We are thrilled that she's been so generous to lend these works to us.
Helene, I'm wondering, there is a sculpture that's sort of the centerpiece here as you walk into the Galen, and it was also on the invitation for the party last night. Tell me about that piece.
Well, it's done by an artist called Nick Cave, and he's very, very hot right now. 2 years ago, I was in Miami at the Art Fest, and I wanted to buy one desperately, and they said, maybe you can get one. I had to go on a waiting list.
Isn't that amazing?
And so I finally got this piece, and it's in this entrance of my house. And what I loved about it, when it came, it was a naked person. And then they had to put the clothes on, put the socks on. The special delivery had to do the installation, but it was really fun. But he's really, really important now.
Yeah, okay. Now, some of the other pieces that are important, what do they mean to you? Can you mention some of them?
Well, the Alex Katz, which is right behind you, is a fabulous, he does portraits, and this is, I think, one of his, Samantha is the name of the face that's on there. And then the David Sally is a very fabulous piece, and that's a great little story. When my husband and I were building a house in Los Angeles, and we had good space in the living room, and we got a slide from Europe. And it was David Sally, and it was a huge piece. And we sent the slide to our decorator, and it was too big, but he said, I'm making the room bigger because I want the piece.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
it's such a marvelous, it's huge. It takes up the whole room, but it's just so fabulous. It made everything that he did look good. So we're happy with that piece.
And also totally different, but the Avedon of Twiggy?
Well, my husband acquired that one. That was a long time ago.
I didn't know because there was an Avedon show at the Palm Springs Art
Right,
Museum, I
right.
think a year or two ago, and I thought, well,
Right.
maybe you took that out of that,
No,
bought that out
that
of
wasn't
that.
there. That wasn't there.
Do you go to a lot of art shows to find
Well,
new
I
pieces?
do, but I think I'm stopping because I've got no walls left.
What about now? It's totally different, but the sculpture of the gown.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She's a very, very popular artist. She works in bronze now. She mostly worked in glass, but the kimono is
Yes.
her famous piece.
Yeah. No, it's just amazing. In the future, as far as the museum is concerned, and the art world, how do you see that
Well,
developing?
I think, I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but I think a lot of people are using it as an investment tool. I mean, when people spend $140 million on a piece of art, you know that that's not just because they want to hang it on the wall. It's becoming a currency. And I hope that doesn't detract from the value of the aesthetic value of the art.
But you are supporting young artists. I spoke to Heather, whose painting is one of the many on display, and she's not as well known as some of the other art that you collect. So you have been an inspiration, in a way, to the young artists.
Thank you. Yes, I think so.
Well, it's exciting for a number of reasons. First of all, Helene is amazing because of her philanthropy, but also because I think her vision as a strong woman. So the collection she has is very reflective of a very strong and solid sensibility of the world. So to be part of that really suggests a balance and a parallel to what we find important in art.
Did she tell you her story?
No.
She and her husband met at Columbia, and both taking art classes, and they were finishing each other's paintings. So they created a romance, and then they got a joint MFA. I don't think anybody's ever gotten a joint MFA, but they started painting together, and they started doing portraits. And they came up with the concept which you've been talking about to Heather, and I was contacted, would I like to have my portrait taken? And I was afraid it was going to be a real portrait because I wouldn't wanted a real one, but they came and they interviewed me, and the two of them, and it was the young couple, and it was all the questions they asked me were fascinating, trying to get my personality. And then the next thing I know, there's a book. They created a book showing the interview and showing all of the items that they have, and then they put it together and made this wonderful painting, and it's called Helene Galen.
It was so funny because she said to me, you know, it's a portrait.
Yeah.
Well, hardly. But she said that you, and that is not when we spoke to her, but she told me this off camera, that you chose the colors. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. They gave me a color slide. Things that I liked. Obviously, if you can see the piece, it's very bold.
Yeah.
And I suppose I am. And it's
Well,
daring,
that's what she
and I
said.
suppose I am.
You're
And
a-
philosophical.
Says you're a strong woman.
Yes.
And that strength is helping the community.
There you go.
And
There
the
you
art
go.
museum.
And I love the piece. It actually hangs in my Los Angeles house. Having lived in Los Angeles most of my life before coming out here, I lived near the beach. And there's a lot of aspiring young artists there, and I bought many of them.
And do you think you will, even though you're running out of room, you think you will continue to do that?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, you look at Mark Bradford. He's one of the hottest artists today, and he's just recently come on the scene. And you can hardly buy his pieces; they're so expensive. But he's so talented, and it's wonderful that talented people with the ability to paint can do so well in this climate. I mean, if you think about back in the old days, Impressionists starved. I mean, they didn't have any money. They did this great art, and only in later years was it appreciated.
And they're not going to starve as long as you're around.
That's right. There is a wonderful piece here. Can I tell you about it?
Please.
There's a carving that we bought in New York. It's a wooden piece, and it's made by a New York artist, and it's called Secrets. The whole series was called Secrets. And this one is a sculpture of King Edward and Mrs. Simpson. And I'm British, so I really had an affection for this. And it shows the bulldog from Churchill, and it shows the hand of Adolf Hitler. And if you open up the secret inside the sculpture, there's a picture of the King and Mrs. Simpson and Adolf Hitler.
Oh my.
So I'm very cherished the carving. It's
And of
great
course,
piece.
this is something you know about, because as a child, you were sent out of London.
I was evacuated.
Yeah. And
But everybody knew about Mrs. Simpson.
that's kind of scary.
Right.
Yeah. That is so interesting. But you do go back to London
I
a
do.
lot?
I was just there a couple months ago.
And what about all the art there? I mean, it's so phenomenal, too.
Yes, it is. See, listen, there's no end to the supply.
But you know, it's really amazing to me, the art that's in Palm Springs and now Palm Desert, which, you know, people used to think of Palm Springs as a resort, movie stars riding bicycles, riding horses, which is great fun, love it. But the art, you know, I think the very first artist was an Indian who used to walk around, I remember doing research, the Desert Inn, and sell his sketches. I tell her something for $5, and now we're up to the millions in value.
First of all, our museum has really set the tone. I mean, we have a first-class museum. It could be in New York or London or Los Angeles. It's a wonderful museum with an incredible collection, and we have some very great supporters like Donna McMillan, who's given half of her collection to the museum, and then Steve Chase, who made differences. I think when the local community supports its local museum the way we have done, I think that's what's made it so fabulous, and we have great leadership there too.
Well, I think it says so much for what this community has become. And I think you, Helene Galen, can feel very proud because you are a strong part of this marvelous development.
Well, aren't I lucky?
Yes.
I count.
And to be able to do it.
Exactly, that's
Which
what I mean.
everyone can't.
I mean, really, when you have, I take my husband's saying is, when you get, you should give.
Yeah.
So if I can give back, I'm really happy to be able to do that.
Well, again, I, as a member of the community, as a resident of Palm Desert, want to thank you so very much for all that you have done and all that you are doing.
Thank you.
For all of us here with your commitment.
Thank you, Gloria. I really, as I said, I'm very lucky.
Thank you. You enjoyed your visit with us at the Palm Springs Art Museum in Palm Desert, and it's the Galen. And we enjoyed exploring the arts here. We hope you did too, and we will see you next time. Thanks also to Palm Springs Life for 50 years, California's prestige magazine. The Palm Springs Air Museum, a nonprofit educational institution whose mission is to exhibit, educate, and eternalize combat aircraft and our veterans. In addition to flying aircraft, artwork, and library sources, perpetuate American history for future generations.
Thanks to the Camelot Theaters for supporting the arts, bringing award-winning and nominated films, art films, and documentaries to the Coachella Valley. Thanks also to Dr. Betty Baxter, Certified Life Coach and Consultant. Cash Baxter. Rick and Rosine Supple, supporting the arts in the Palm Springs Cultural Center. Betty M. Barker Trust. Serp and John Conti Foundation. Stephen Philibosian Foundation, supporting the arts and the Virginia Waring International Piano Competition. Dorothy and Harold Meyerman, supporting the arts in the Palm Springs Art Museum. Coachella Valley History Museum, sharing the unique history of the desert and its pioneers. Dr. Carrion Foundation, providing scholarships for Coachella Valley Mexican American students.